everybody here ought to sing tonight. You don't have to sing. And if you're new here and you don't know the words, I would even rather that you didn't sing. But it's not one of those difficult songs. Quite simply, it goes, I don't want a pickle, just want to ride my motorcycle. And anything that rhymes after that is groovy, so you don't have too much to sweat tonight. We'll try it now. 4-part harmony. Here it is. I don't want a pickle, just want to ride on my motorcycle. And I don't want to tickle, I'd rather ride on my motorcycle. And I don't want to die, just want to ride on my motorcycle. That was great. It wasn't as enthusiastic as it should have been, though. Because of that lack of enthusiasm, I'm gonna have to tell you about how I wrote the song. And maybe you'll get more enthusiastic about it. Maybe you won't. It was about the time that I was riding a motorcycle, going down a mountain road at 150 miles an hour, playing my guitar. On one side of the mountain road there was a mountain, and on the other side there was nothing. There was a cliff in the air. You know, when you're going down a mountain road at 150 miles an hour, you gotta be very careful, especially if you're playing a guitar. Especially if that guitar is an acoustic guitar. Because if it's an acoustic guitar, the wind pressure is greater on the box side than on the neck side, because there's more guitar on the box side. I wasn't paying attention. Luckily, I didn't go into the mountain. I went over the cliff. I was going at 150 miles an hour sideways and 500 feet down at the same time. I knew it was the end. I looked down. I said, wow, some trip. I thought I knew it was my last trip, and in my last remaining seconds in the world, I decided to write one last farewell song to the world. Put a new ink cartridge in my pen. Took out a piece of paper. I sat back and I thought a while. Then I started writing. I don't want a pickle, just want to ride on a motorcycle. I don't want a tickle, I'd rather ride on a motorcycle. And I don't want to die, just want to ride my motorcycle. I knew that it wasn't the best song I ever wrote, but I didn't have time to change it. I was coming down mighty fast. But as you all know, and as fate would have it, I didn't die. I landed on the top of a police car, and he died. I drove away on the road that he was on. I came into town at a screaming 175 miles an hour, playing the motorcycle song. I came into town and jumped off my bike. The bike went around the corner by itself, went up on the stand by itself, turned itself off. I walked over to my friend. He was standing there eating pickles. I said, hi, what's happening? He looked at me in the eye and said, nothing. You gotta sing it with that kind of enthusiasm. Like you just squashed a cop. I don't
up? Nuchow here. Vietnam era U.S. Army veteran, past Teamsters community organizer, past Screen Actors Guild Foundation program director, Aptera, autocycle, reservationist, and author. You just watched me listening to ARLO GUTHRIE sing the motorcycle song. And this song is about the time that Arlo was riding his motorcycle, going down a mountain road at 150 miles an hour, playing his guitar. On one side of the mountain road, there was a mountain, and on the other side, there was nothing. There was a cliff in the air. Now, when you're going down a mountain road at 150 miles an hour like Arlo was, you got to be very careful, especially if you're playing a guitar, especially if that guitar is an acoustic guitar, because if it's an acoustic guitar, the wind pressure is greater on the box side than on the neck side. And because there's more guitar on the box side, well, and if you're soaring in an aerodynamic Aptera with no wind resistance from its 0.13 low drag coefficient, you'd be going even faster. Arlo wasn't paying attention. Luckily, he didn't go into the mountain. He went over the cliff. He was only going at 150 miles an hour sideways and 500 feet at the same time on a motorcycle, and luckily not even faster if he was in an Aptera autocycle with no wind resistance. He knew it was the end. He looked down and said, "Wow. Some trip," he thought. Well, he knew it was. He knew it was his last trip, and in the last remaining seconds in this world, he decided to write one last farewell song to the world. He put a new ink cartridge in his pen, took out a piece of paper, sat back, thought a while, then he started writing, "I don't want a pickle, just want to ride on my motorcycle. And I don't want a tickle because I'd rather ride on my motorcycle." Then he thought, "I wish I could be safer, and I don't want to die if I just had and was in an autocycle Aptera." He knew it was the best song he ever wrote, but didn't have time to change it. He was coming down mighty fast, but as we all know, and as fate would have it, he didn't die. He landed on top of an old fossil fuel ICE police car and crushed it. A solar power Aptera was parked next to it. He tapped the door, got in, and drove away on the road that he was on. He came into a town at a soaring in a wingless flight at 175 miles an hour, playing the motorcycle song. So Arlo came into town. He jumped out of the Aptera. The Aptera autocycle went around the corner by itself, went in the middle of an open lot under a day-lit sky by itself, parked, turned itself off, stayed to soak up the sun, charging free. He walked over to his friend. He was standing there, eating pickles. Arlo said, "Hi, what's happening?" Arlo's friend looked at him in the eye and said, "Nothing." Arlo says we got to sing his song with that kind of enthusiasm like we just got our Aptera autocycle. "I don't want a pickle. I just want to ride my Aptera autocycle. And I don't want a tickle. I'd rather ride my Aptera autocycle. And I don't want my Mother Earth to be poisoned and die from dirty fossil fuel pollution. I just want us to have clean, sustainable energy for solar mobility and ride in our Aptera autocycle." Thanks for listening to my prose. You can hear more on my YouTube channel, more on my 30 books on Amazon. And here's my new Aptera solar power prose. Get us out of this ice pickle. I love a pickle in my burger, but I do not want Earth placed in a pickle, stuck in a jar of status quo, stirring pickling clouds of pollution. Opening my jar to innovation and efficiency, tasting a crisp freshness of Aptera solar mobility, power with lots of free and delicious sun-ripened energy, cuts through air cool as a cucumber with its 0.13 drag coefficient. Pickles and lunch go great with Aptera's freedom of movement off the grid. Thanks for listening. Keep hope alive. Aptera will keep children today and tomorrow from getting stuck in a status quo pickle of past fossil-fueled and inefficient EV vehicles. Take care until I see you reading my next bit of prose, and thanks again for listening.